Hi everyone, welcome to Ayurvedic habit building program. We've entered the second half of the program. Congratulations firstly to all of you that made it so far, to all of you that went through this journey throughout the first half of the program. We went through 5 habits that are related to some core rhythms in the body as well as evening routines. So, in the second half, we'll be beginning working on some morning routines as well as some habits around meal times as well. And also, we'll be covering a couple Ayurvedic rituals like oral hygiene, related to oral hygiene. So, excited for the second half of the program. Again, thank you all for supporting me through the first half of the program and sticking through. I hope you all got a chance to make at least a few positive changes in your day and your routines and are able to become more aware of how these changes are impacting your day and your health overall. As we discussed earlier in the program, awareness is where we are really focusing on in this program, awareness and attunement to your body's needs rather than following fixed rules. So, we're not following any strict rules or rigid templates here. We are just trying to attune to our body's needs around all of these habit topics and figure out what's working for us and becoming aware of how it's impacting our health. So that's where I wanted to reiterate that our approach should work off of. Okay, so today our topic is sunlight exposure. Before we begin, let's do a quick habit check-in. In the first half of the program, we went through 5 habits, and before that, we started with presence pause. It really stabilizes that mind body connection that's like a basis for this program. And then we went on to our first habit, which is breath regulation. We learned a very simple breath regulation technique and also a practice called Anulom Vilom in order to balance our breath. And we saw the 4 point hydration rhythm, which balances our hydration throughout the day, and then early dinner and evening rituals. Firstly, some reducing evening stimulation as well as improving or incorporating certain rituals in the evening to wind down slowly. So these are the 5 habits we've covered in the first half of the program. I hope all of you got a chance to implement this in even a small way to begin with. If anyone is willing to share their experience today, again, feel free to raise your hand. You're welcome to do so. Umaka,
Uh, Hi, Monu. Good morning.
good morning.
Yeah, the hydration habit really helped for me. I was never consistent about, I know that drinking water is important, but I was never consistent. I used to forget often some days. I used to think that sipping throughout the day, helps me. Some days I used to try that, but actually that made my stomach feel heavy. I used to think that my body would get used to it, but never questioned it. Through this session, I understood that like sipping is not the right technique for me.
Mm.
Then I tried this 4 point hydration,
Mhm.
and this really helped me. I feel more refreshed throughout the day, and it slowly become a habit. Like the second practice I've tried is that early dinners. I usually eat early, but weekends were very different. We used to go out, we used to eat very late,
Mm.
sometimes close to the midnight. Earlier, I never connected that with how I felt the next day, but now I can clearly see that late dinners were affecting my sleep quality and making me feel lazy the next day.
Right.
Yeah, now I'm trying to be more mindful and keeping dinners early. even on
Mm.
weekends. This awareness itself made a big difference.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I can feel better sleep and better energy the next day. So these two practices help me more aware of my body now. Yeah. And
That's awesome.
I'm already seeing some positive changes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The thing I'm working out right now is that reducing screen time before bed.
Hmm.
This, like, some days I'm not able to completely stop myself, but compared to before, most days have been much better. I'm becoming more aware of how if it affects my sleep,
Yeah.
and I'm making a conscious effort to reduce it now. Yeah.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
All the
So,
best and great going. Thank you
yeah.
so much for sharing your experience.
Thank you, Monu.
Yeah, lovely. Yeah, and as you mentioned, we we're not familiar with how the timing of everything matters so much.
Mhm.
You were sipping water throughout the day. Maybe you were getting enough water, uh,
Mhm.
as per the recommendation, like standard recommendation, like 3 liters or 4 liters. But when you take it, impacts you so much.
Yeah, I never used to realize before, like, I used to think, okay, I should get used to it maybe because I never been a good, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I
Mhm.
understand. And the timing of it matters. And also, it's lovely that you're really rooting all of these changes in awareness, because
Mhm.
as you're becoming aware of how these changes are impacting your body, you're doing the right thing for your body, not following a standard rule. Because as I said, rules work for some people, work might not work for few others. And
Yeah.
as you carry on with these practices, keep the awareness intact, because right now something that works for you may not work
Mhm.
for you a few years down the line. Things always keep changing, and being healthy is not a standard rigid practice, but it's a dynamic thing that you just have to carry through
Mhm.
awareness and attunement to what your body needs. So yeah, great work on being aware of how these changes are impacting you. Keep going.
Yes. Thank you, Monu.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's begin the session again with presence, pause, and breath regulation. And then we can move on to talking about sunlight. I request you to be seated in a comfortable position and close your eyes. And I'll guide you through presence, pause, and breath regulation. A gentle reminder about presence, pause. Presence, pause is a great way to establish that mind body connection. And the objective of the pause is just for you to become aware of what's happening in your body and mind without any judgment, without the need to fix it. It's just about bringing attention to yourself, because throughout the day we're constantly distracted. And just this practice of pausing and bringing attention and awareness to what's happening without even labeling it or naming it itself is powerful. Because when you really pay attention and allow yourself to recognize what's happening, you will naturally then find ways to balance it. So, while you practice the presence pause, do not judge any sensations or anything that you feel. Do not label it. Do not name what's happening, because once you name it, your mind automatically jumps to judgment. If, say, you're feeling a weird sensation in your stomach, a weird is a tag you attach to it, and your mind says it's bad. So do not even attach any adjectives or names or labels to what you're feeling. Just pure presence, like how a baby views the world. Imagine how that you're a baby observing your body. You do not know any what's good or what's bad, or like you do not know any labels as to what's happening. You're just purely staying with the sensations, or you're being present with what you're feeling. So that's what you need to remember while you practice the presence pause. So be seated and gently close your eyes. And let's begin by bringing your awareness to your breath. Notice your breath without changing it, just simply notice your breath. Now shift your attention to your stomach. Just simply observe any sensations in your stomach. Now move your attention to your feet. Observe where they're touching the ground or any other surface. Now watch your posture. Do not correct it, but simply observe your posture. Now notice what's running on your mind. Do not engage with any thoughts, just watch your thoughts. Now, how alert or tired do you feel in your body? Notice how alert or tired you feel in your body. And where do you feel it in your body? Where do you feel it in your body? Now let's start taking 3 deep breaths. On the count of 4, inhale and exhale on the count of 6. Take a deep breath in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice how you feel. Stay with how you're feeling right now. And gently open your eyes. All right. So, sunlight exposure, that's a topic for today. So, when it comes to exposure to sunlight, our bodies are not designed to stay indoors all day, firstly. For most of human history, we lived very closely with natural light cycles. Our days naturally followed the rhythm of the sun, and our bodies are designed that way. Our bodies have adapted to that over years. When the sun rose, people woke up and became active. And this daylight supported movement, it supported work, digestion, and metabolism. And as the sun began to set, the body naturally started slowing down. And once it got dark, it was time for rest and sleep. So the body was constantly taking cues from the sun without us even thinking about it, right? So our internal functions and everything is very closely tied to the sun's movement. And there are two main ways our body receives sunlight, right? Two main ways. Can you guess what these are? One obvious thing is skin. Our skin absorbs sunlight. But there's also another part of our body that is highly sensitive to sunlight. And that's our eyes. Our eyes have receptors that are very sensitive to sunlight. They're called opsins. For example, there's this opsin called melanopsin. And this melanopsin is highly sensitive to blue light, the blue light spectrum found in the sunlight. And that's responsible for detecting the daylight levels and synchronizing what's called a circadian rhythm, which means that it detects blue light in midday. And based on that, it produces melatonin at the right time in the night for us to fall asleep. So our rhythms of of our body that are called the circadian rhythms that literally govern how everything functions, all our hormone functions through the day and night, all of these are sensitive to light and especially sunlight. So when this natural light, when sunlight enters our eyes and reaches the skin, it sends important signals to our brain. And those signals help the body regulate all of these key processes like metabolism or sleep, and all our bodily functions are regulated. And sunlight is, we can call it as a master key regulator of all of these functions. It impacts our energy levels, it governs how well our metabolism functions, our mood, and even our quality of sleep cycles. So it's a master signal that tells the body what time it is and how the body should function during that time of the day. So when we get natural light exposure, especially earlier in the day, these systems will stay in rhythm. But when sunlight exposure becomes irregular, which is very common in modern life, these systems slowly start falling out of sync. So, sunlight plays an important role in several things in our body, including various hormone functions in our body. So, one of the main key things sunlight does is it regulates our hormone called cortisol. Cortisol often gets a bad reputation because we associate it with stress, but it actually plays a very important role in the body. In the morning, cortisol is supposed to rise naturally because that's what helps us wake up and feel alert and get ready for the day. And morning sunlight helps trigger this healthy cortisol rhythm, right? So, sunlight impacts the production of cortisol in our body. And another important hormone is melatonin, which regulates our sleep. And melatonin should rise in the evening when it gets dark. But for that to happen properly, body needs adequate exposure to daylight during the day. So if you get proper sunlight during the day, the body schedules melatonin production for the right time in the evening. So this is the circadian rhythm of the body. This is everything, as I said, is not an off, one off thing in our body. All of the functions in our body are interconnected and they work off of a rhythm. So sunlight impacts this rhythm very closely. And it also affects serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that plays a big role in mood and emotional stability. So exposure to natural light increases the serotonin activity in the brain, which is the reason why people feel uplifted and mentally clear and happy when they spend time outdoors. So sunlight isn't just about brightness, it's helping regulate a whole hormonal rhythm that affects our energy during the day and our mood during the day and also sleep at night. So you may wonder, like, we also get artificial light in modern day. Why should we get sunlight? What's the difference? Sunlight and artificial light do not do the same job, firstly. The brightest artificial light comes nowhere close to what sunlight can offer. That's the main reason outdoor exposure to sunlight is important. The intensity of sunlight is much, much brighter than what we experience inside our homes or offices, or even, let's say, a mall that has a very high lighting. You can see the stark difference. So, light is measured in a unit called LUX. So, you can see that indoor lighting is often like around 100 to 500 LUX. Bright office lighting, it comes up to like 1000 LUX, and outdoor lighting, even when it's cloudy, goes up to 20,000 LUX. And on a bright sunny day, it can go up to 50,000 to 100,000 LUX. So it cannot be replicated indoors. Sunlight cannot be replicated with artificial light. Even in modern day, you think that you're getting, light even during the night. You have artificial lights you can turn on and stay awake, but it's not close to the rhythm that your body can experience with sunlight. So our bodies are inherently connected to the sun. They're very inherently connected to the sun. And the second reason is the light spectrum. Sunlight contains a broad range of wavelengths, right? What we call a full spectrum of light. And these wavelengths interact with specialized receptors in our eyes that help regulate our circadian rhythms. Most artificial lights, however, provide only limited spectrum. So the body does not receive the same biological signals. So that's why sunlight exposure is different from an artificial light exposure. And also, sunlight changes throughout the day. Morning light, midday light, and sunset light look different in color and intensity, and they are different, and our eyes can perceive the difference. Morning and late evening are predominant with redder lights, whereas during the daytime, blue light is more predominant. And these shifts act as natural time markers for the body. And our body can track the progression of the day and it regulates the biological rhythms based on this. So it's that intelligent. And finally, there is the environmental exposure aspect, right? When we're outdoors, light reaches us from all different directions from the sun, the sky, and the reflections from the environment around us. And this creates a rich light environment, and brain easily recognizes it as daytime. Whereas indoors, light usually comes from one overhead source or maybe two overhead sources, and this does not provide the same signal to the body. So overall, sunlight gives body a much clearer and stronger message about the time of the day and helps set our biological rhythm when compared to artificial light. So sunlight cannot be replaced, bottom line. So let's look at when sunlight exposure is most beneficial. Because different times of the day, as I mentioned, send different signals to the body. The most important time for you to get sunlight exposure outdoors is morning time. Okay, as per Ayurveda, is morning time is most ideal. Before sunrise, it's a great time to expose yourself to the pre-sunrise sunlight exposure. And it's said to be most sattvic. as in it promotes harmony and balance in your system. But ideally, within first 1 or 2 hours after sunrise is also okay. Morning sunlight is one of the strongest signals for our circadian rhythm, which is our internal body clock. When our eyes detect this early daylight, our brain understands that the day has started. It regulates the rise of cortisol, which supports the alertness and focus and waking up and energy in the morning. And it's also linked to better mood and mental clarity. And it plays a big role in helping the body release melatonin at the correct time in the evening. So, morning sunlight exposure literally sets our entire rhythm right. So, that's why it's so important to get sunlight exposure in the morning. And during daylight hours, our body is naturally oriented towards movement, digestion, metabolism, productivity, right? So, when we spend time in natural light during the day, it helps maintain the stable energy levels. It prevents a midday slump that many people experience when you're spending time indoors, and it supports all our body's metabolic rhythms. So, daytime exposure can help in various ways, but again, you cannot get too much sunlight exposure during midday because it's often harsher and it's predominant more with UVB rays, which are which can even cause skin cancer if you have too much exposure. So, little exposure during the day helps out, but not too much. And finally, evening light, especially during sunlight, it helps set our rhythm again. It helps our body understand that it's time to wind down. Our brain prepares for this nighttime physiology and it allows melatonin to rise, which helps our nervous system shift from an active state to a restful state. So, simply observing sunset, being outside during sunset hours, helps our body soften and our body recognizes that the day is ending. So, if you think about it, sunlight throughout the day works like a sequence of biological signals. Morning light starts the clock, daytime light supports energy and metabolism, and evening light helps the body transition from rest to sleep, towards rest and sleep. So that's when you can expose yourself to sunlight through different times of the day, but predominantly morning and evening would be most beneficial. So before we move into changing anything, it's helpful to pause and simply observe our current relationship with sunlight. So I want you all to take a moment to reflect on a few simple questions. Firstly, how much time do you currently spend outdoors each day? And as I said, sunlight exposure outdoors versus indoors can vary also. Spending time indoors, like say, let's say you have a window that, where through which you get a lot of sunlight in the morning. Is that the same as spending time outdoors? No, it's not the same. Windows and glasses or any sort of, like, even if you're in a car, they filter some wavelengths of sunlight. So you're not receiving direct sunlight per se. You can observe it. There is an app on your phone. I can send a link to that on our group. There's an app that measures the amount of sunlight in the LUX unit. The amount of sunlight that you get, even if sun is directly shining through your window, that you get indoors versus outdoors is significantly different. So spending time outdoors is what really helps your body get the most out of sunlight. So even if you're able to spend like 5 or 10 minutes, that's a great way to begin. But currently, how much time are you spending outdoors each day is something I want you to observe. With our modern work and lifestyles, I know it can be challenging, but I just want you to observe how much time. you actually spend outdoors in sunlight versus getting sunlight, like say driving in a car or, you know, inside your home through a window or anything. And what time of the day do you usually see sunlight? Is it mostly midday or occasionally in the afternoon, or do you get some exposure earlier in the morning? So, what time of the day do you get sunlight? And next, observe that whether you get regularly morning light or not. Because, as I said, even a few minutes of morning daylight can make a big difference in setting the body's rhythm. So, how much morning light do you get? What other times of the day do you usually are in outdoor sunlight? And your outdoor sunlight exposure versus indoor sunlight exposure. And finally, how your energy feels on days when you spend time outside. Many people notice they feel more alert or calmer or mentally clearer after being outdoors, even if it's just a short walk, right? So notice how your energy and mood and various rhythms of the body, like even sleep, are getting impacted with outdoor time. So the goal here again isn't to change anything immediately. I just want you to notice your current patterns and become aware of how sunlight is impacting you. How sunlight is impacting you. So, invitation for this week again, as you continue your practice with the previous habits, observe how sunlight is impacting you. And next week, we can talk about how we can implement sunlight exposure in our day and get you practicing that habit regularly. Any questions? All right. Let you go if you don't have any questions. Thank you so much for joining. See you all next week.